So let's get started talking about the new Pardot email builder. My name is Jen Kazin. I'm a Salesforce and Pardot expert. I'm an independent consultant. You can find me on LinkedIn or Twitter. And actually, LinkedIn is what inspired me to have this topic, to choose this topic. What I found is that whenever I posted about the new email builder, I was getting 50 to 100% more engagement than any other topic. And so it made me realize, you know what? People are probably frustrated with some of the email templates that they currently have, right? They're not that user-friendly. They're a little rigid. And so whenever we talked and when Salesforce announced the new email builder, here's what I saw. I saw a lot of people getting excited about it. And I'm really excited about it. Today, I'm going to go through a very quick review of the email builder, if some of you haven't seen it before. And while I'm going through it, I'm also going to count down 11 key insights. And I recommend sticking around to the end because I think some of the best insights are actually at the end of the session. So let's just talk about the new email builder first off. It rolled out in mid-October, so it's been out for a couple months. Their prerequisites are Pardot for Lightning, Connected Campaigns, and HTML, Handlebar Merge Language. It's available for all Pardot editions. If you haven't set it up yet, you can go to this bit.ly/email build to get a step-by-step blog. It's got some pictures that helps you walk through the setup process. Right now, the email builder is only available for list emails. Okay, so it's not currently available for templates for the Engagement Studio, for automation rules, or Engage yet. Another quick caveat is the email builder doesn't manage snippets, A/B tests, dynamic content, litmus rendering, or brand styling. And what I mean by brand styling is sometimes people need custom text imported to manage their branding specifications, and it's not there yet. So I'm going to pause here because sometimes a lot of my clients, they get to this point and they're like, oh, so they were initially really excited, and then they start looking at this and they're like, well, now I feel really limited. I'm not as excited. I still am really excited because I remember that this is just the version 1.0. This is just the first step of Salesforce. Salesforce has a list of things. They do plan and intend to build these items out. I do recommend still setting it up because it's the future of the email sending in Salesforce. I'm really excited about it because I can see the vision that Salesforce has for those email sends. And the last thing too is that you can use the new email builder simultaneously with the traditional email send experience. So what that means is once you get your new email builder installed, maybe you send your newsletters through the new email builder, but your email drip still needs templates, and you can use that with the traditional email template. So you can do both simultaneously. It's not one or the other. The other key thing is that there is no crossover. So if you had an email template from 8 months ago, you're not able to just open that up in Email Builder and edit it. You need to initiate that in Email Builder and go from there. So what is the Email Builder? Basically, once you get it set up, there's these two tabs. The first one is Email Templates, and that's actually where you create your new email template. It's drag and drop functionality on a canvas. Once you have your email template built, you can actually send it with email content. So that's just like what you do today, right? You Pardot, you go to one place to create your email template, and you go to another place to actually send it. Same concept. And here's what it looks like when you actually get to the email template, when you actually get to the creations page. So on the left, you can see all the different components like buttons, images, text. The middle is the canvas. That's actually where you create the template. And on the right, that's your panels property with all the properties. One quick call out here is pre-header. There's a specific place for pre-header text. I'm excited about this. Pre-header text is the text that comes after the subject line on your email in your inbox. Previously, there wasn't a great place for it. Maybe it was in your HTML. Now there's a designated place. Statistics shows that pre-header text increases your open rate, so hopefully a lot more people will be using pre-header text. Now let's get started creating our email template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the left side. I'm going to take my cursor and I'm going to grab an image and drag it into the canvas here. Now, if you look to the right, there's 3 places where I can grab an image from. Image URL, Salesforce CMS, and files. And we'll talk more about that later in this presentation. Right now, I just want to get a quick image in, so I'm going to add an image URL, and I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to get my image. All right, now let's add some text. So on the left, I'm going to go to the rich text, and I'm going to drag my text on. I've just populated it already. And then on the right, here's my component. So I can click into here, and of course I can edit my text however I desire. I also want to draw your attention to the top section here. It says allow changes in email. So you can actually toggle this, and you can actually lock down sections on your email builder. So for instance, if you are creating an email template and there's a footer and you don't want anyone in your marketing team making changes to that, you can control that there. Now let's add a couple columns. So here I added 2 columns, and I did that with this row component over here on the left. So I dragged that in, and if I look to the right, I have 2 columns in here, so that's why you see 2. If I wanted to add more columns, I simply hit the plus sign. I can add up to 12 columns, and it indicates the column width here. So I have 2 equal sized columns, so that's why they are 6/12. So once you add the desired number of columns, I simply can hit this plus sign, and actually then I can add, any of the components over here, like buttons or images. I've actually chose here to have an image on the left and a text on the right. Let's go through another component that you can choose. This is an HTML component. And here's actually where you can insert any HTML. I call this my wildcard component. So anything that I can't do in any of the other standard components, I can use this HTML. And then on the right here, you can see, and I can actually paste my HTML code in here. There is a limit to 10,000 characters on this HTML code. It's truly meant just for a component within the larger email. I also just want to do a quick call out here. So I know in the traditional email templates, there's a tab where you can look at the code, and you can look at the entire source code in its entirety for the template. This email builder is designed to be drag and drop, so you're not able to look at the code in its entirety. You can look at the components just like I'm showing here today. Here's a favorite component of many people, the button component. A lot of people excited that there's now a really easy way to add a button. On the right, you can see the specifications here. You can add, there's colors, different borders, button size. You can adjust the padding. So a lot of different ways to play around and make your buttons look very appealing on your email. So here I'm actually looking at this email template in a desktop view. You can actually toggle and look at it as a phone view as well. So you can see all my components now stacked on top of each other. And there's also an undo button. This actually got a lot of attention on LinkedIn as well when people were discussing the new email builder, because people were like, whoa, did you see the undo button? And I think a lot of people can relate to working on a template, breaking something, and then going, oh, when did I save it last? And there's some lost work. So the undo button is really handy. I've probably about a dozen emails out of the email builder, and it was really easy when I made a mistake. I could just hit undo 5 times, and it just walked me back to where I wanted to start again.
Hi, Jen.
Now, before I switch out of, yeah.
We had a good question inside the chat. I want to call your attention. Sophia had asked, is there a way that we could set our default fonts and like font size inside the templates, or that's something you do on each template as you're modifying it?
Okay, so in the rich text section, right, once you add your text, you can use the WYSIWYG editor to make changes. And then, and what do you mean? And then if you wanted to, like I said, you could lock down that component. Is that what you're asking?
I think what she's asking is similar towards like a current Pardot template where you create a template and then you basically create a list email using the template, and the template has your CSS and styling in it. How does that translate on the new email editor? Like if you have the new email.
You're not able to bring in stylized font right now. So if you have specific font, and like I said, you're not going to be able to take a previously made template or code and transport that in here. You'd probably need to start by, like I said, doing what I'm doing here, drag and drop, creating new templates for the new email builder.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Yeah. So also to that point, what I wanted to just talk also here is that, some of people felt a little disappointed where some of the things that they wanted in the new email template builder are not there. But I actually say just imagine the potential. So give Salesforce some time to get caught up. So imagine now you're at a place where all of the features and things that I love about my current templates, I can now do in the new drag and drop format. Then also think about what else they can do. Think about all the different components over here. Imagine a video component. Maybe you could drag that into your email. What about a survey component? Or if there was a Zoom integration, so you had a Zoom email and there was a Zoom, some type of special component that went into your emails for that. Those are some of the visionary things that I mentioned that I get excited for that. I see all this real estate under the components here. I'm pretty sure Salesforce didn't intend there only to be 5. All right, now you're ready to save your template. So you can do that here under private. So when you save your email template, you can see this is not your standard Pardot folders. These are actually Salesforce folders. And so you can save it in a private folder. Those are only seen by the owner. Public folders can be seen by anyone. Or like I said, if you need something in between, you can simply create a folder and manage the sharing with users and groups. One quick call out here is templates can be shared across business units. So that's a huge win for people with business units. Previously, if you had a template, you actually had to load it separately into each business unit. Now you can actually save it in one folder and share across.
Jen, we have another question about responsiveness. Assuming these templates are all responsive.
Templates are responsive, yes. So, and we showed the toggle between, yes, we showed the toggle between desktop and phone. And then you can actually see now how all the components now stack on top of each other.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep. All right, so we talked about email templates. Okay, so you created your template, you hit save, great. Now you need to send it. So now you go to the other tab, email content. I'm going to go to the right under here where it says new. And this is what it looks like when you have a sending record. So a couple quick call outs here. You can use Chatter. I actually initially I was like, oh, okay, fine. But a lot of people have Slack groups. But what's really neat about Chatter is it's so easy here because you don't have to leave the application. And also if you have any dialogue about the email, like, hey, can you check out this email? It actually stays with the record itself. So something to think about here. I could mention a colleague, and then, that colleague would see my notification that, oh, I see Jen sent me something. What do you think of this email? My colleague could hit view CRM and then pull this record up. So pretty slick. Here's the screen for when you actually need to send the email. I'm not going to go through it, but a couple just items to call out. The safeguards from adding the same list. So for instance, there's a safeguard. So if I add an email list like ABC in the recipient list, that list doesn't show up in the suppression, right? So it prevents you from adding the list 2 places. Today, for the version today, you can only send from one email sender. Obviously, you're not able to do the assigned users yet. Same with completion actions. Right now, the completion action is for a prospect for any link in this email, and I'm not able to specify the link. So point that out. One thing that is really cool about the new email send is I can send the same email multiple times to different audience. It's really easy. Previously you had to clone it. Now I can just go up here and I can hit send. And I actually sent this email 3 different times. So let's now go look to see what that looks like. So if I go here to the related tab, I'm in email content, and I can see here's the 3 different emails that I sent to myself. Again, it was just me, I just sent it to myself. But you can see, like, I could assign different campaigns to each email send. If I wanted to rename these because I wanted to indicate a different group, I could have. I just happened to name this the same. So you can resend the same email to different audiences. It's really easy. One thing I will add, though, is that I actually added this section at the top. I like this, especially in this view, because while I can click in here and see the engagement on each separate send, this actually gives me the view to see it across all sends. So this is the total opens, total open rate across all. This is actually a compact layout. I just added this in the presentation like yesterday because I've been showing this to a couple clients and they actually like, yeah, can you please add that? So if you want to learn how to add it, I just threw a bit.ly up there. Go ahead. I didn't have time to cover it in the session, but normally the email content page doesn't have this top box. It just starts here with the related and details. And since that tab is all about email sending, I think it's just a nice addition, and you can choose your own fields here as well. All right, I want to cover 2 quick gotchas for you. These are some things that I know have tripped up some of my clients since we started. One is don't forget to hit the sync from HTML. Okay, and we're all familiar with doing that in Pardot today. But what happens is that when you're about to send the email, often you get this message that says text body, this field is required. And my clients will be like, what is that? What does that mean? It just means you just have to hit sync to HTML. Because once you hit that, the text from the HTML will then go into the text body. And then of course that's now the field is populated and you meet this validation. So it's easy to do. The other item is that if you're going to add your unsubscribe, whether that's the unsubscribe button or the preference center, you'll want to add the merge field in linked text. So again, imagine this is the rich text component. I have a header, I have text. What you want to do is you want to type the word unsubscribe and highlight it and link it and put that merge field in there. So again, I'm just going quick through this. If you want more details, this is the last bit.ly I'll share you, but it's just called email gotchas. And it kind of walks through this a little bit more detail. But I think 100% of my clients had a question, if not one or both of these. So again, I'm just trying to make that experience a smooth transition for you. So far, we've been spending our time now in email content and email templates. So you create the template in email template. You send the email in email content. Also, if you go to lead, so I'm switching into the lead object now, you can see my template here as well. Salespeople at the bottom can grab your template and actually send emails from that. So that's another key benefit as well. So your email templates can be used across sales and service teams. Now, if you remember, I wanted to talk about images, and so I want to go back. So let's rewind and go back to, I'm creating an email template and I'm putting an image in here. And remember, there were 3 ways to pull the image. So I want to spend some time talking through this so you can kind of understand how it works. The first choice is you can add a URL link. And so if you have a public URL, if you have Adobe Content Management System, and so you have images there with a link, you can add it here. What I did here is you can also use Pardot link. So you can use Pardot hosted images with just in this Pardot content files. And you can see this is a webinar image. I grabbed the link and I added it here. So that's one choice for you. The second choice is to add the CMS, add your images from your CMS. I starred this because this is the recommended way. If you're planning to use the email builder, it's the quickest way to get images, and there's other benefits as well. CMS stands for Content Management System. So if you've never seen it before, it's just another area in Salesforce. Here's what it looks like. It doesn't cost anything. All editions have access to it. And so what it means as a marketer is if you're about to send an email and you know you want an image, you would just go to your CMS and you would hit add content here. And here I've just added 2 images so you can see the thumbnails here. So then once your image is loaded in the CMS, you're going to be able to add it to the email builder. So what's so special about the CMS? The CMS, it includes a content delivery network, and that's the CDN. And that means that any email will efficiently deliver correctly to a high volume of recipients. So if you're sending an email to 300,000 people, there's going to be a lot of people clicking on that email at one time. So you want to make sure that it renders correctly. So you want to use that CDN. Another benefit of the CMS is it provides more features like thumbnails, better sharing. I was talking to a Salesforce product manager, and he had acknowledged, he goes, people from Pardot wish there were thumbnails in Pardot, but they're not in Pardot, but they're in the CMS. So you're getting it through that. Right now, CMS is only for images only. Okay, so if you have PDFs or other trackable items, you might want to consider still hosting that in Pardot and adding it as a link to Email Builder, or even if using the traditional email send. The other thing I want to just address here is storage. Because some people have asked, okay, so now I'm going to store my images in the CMS. Can I store 50 images, 500 images? How does that work? Storage is tracked in the CMS through this. It's if you just go to the quick find box and hit storage, your email builder images will be considered with your overall Salesforce org file storage. I just have gotten that question, so I'm adding that here. And the last area, the last way that you can add an image is with files. And this is just if you go to setup, asset files, you can store images here. I think this choice has some limitations though. For instance, file does not use a CDN. And you can only use images from files for sales emails. So here's another way of summarizing it, is that if you're a Pardot user, you're going to be grabbing images from the URL link in Salesforce CMS. And if you look here, files is basically designed specifically for sales emails. And you can see with the Salesforce CMS, which is what I'm recommending, you're going to get the most flexibility. You can use Pardot emails, sales emails, and you have that CDN capability as well. Here's kind of another way of looking at it. If you're a marketer, so pretend you're a marketer here at the top here of the screen, you're going to create an email template in the new email builder. You're going to have to think, how am I going to use that template? If I'm going to use it in email content, that's a Pardot email, you're going to be grabbing your images from URL links or CMS. If you think you're going to be creating that template for sales, who might use it in leads or contacts, you're going to be using images from URL links, CMS, or files. I guess another way of looking at this that that helps me remember it is, why did they set it up this way? Is if you had a company that had Salesforce but didn't have Pardot, you don't have Pardot, you don't have the email content. So you would still be able to build a drag and drop template and grab an image from files for a sales template. So I think that kind of helps understanding. Okay, and this is my last slide. And then I can, if there's any questions, Mike, I'm happy to grab them. But one of my big questions was, how does this render? Not just like on a phone, but like, how does it look in the different servers and the email? How do they receive it? So again, I just did one simple test. I took this email that I built and I emailed it to myself. I had a Gmail account, and then I also emailed it to myself. I had an Outlook account separately, and I was pleased because the emails appeared the way I would have expected them. So I took that as a big win. So obviously you'll still want to do your own diligence and testing, but from my quick test, I was pleased. That's all I had. And like I said, thanks. Feel free to reach out to me. I love being connected to Pardot people. And I just basically put these bit.lys back up just in case if you still need to set up your email builder. If you want to see a couple of the gotchas, like how to actually add that unsubscribe, what did I exactly mean? Or if you want to set up a compact layout on your email content tab, you can write those down and get some more information. It was just, I couldn't get it all into the presentation.
Great. So Jen, we have a few questions I'll put out here for you. So the first question we had was, can you save your own coded HTML as a template?
Can you save? So meaning like, can you grab a template and add it into that HTML component in its entirety? Is that kind of what you're asking?
I take this as, can you basically, like if someone had created an HTML for you outside of Pardot, could you paste that into the editor and then still be able to modify it? Or is it like the current Pardot, we have Pardot regions assigned that are giving you some flexibility to add and remove stuff?
I've actually tried this already because I was like, ooh, I'm going to get clever. And I'm just going to create one component on this email builder, and I'm going to try to see how much code I can put into it. And you're limited by 10,000 characters for each component. So that's how I know that there was only a 10,000 character limit. So you're not going to be able to go to an old template, copy the code and put it into the new email builder. There might be some potential enhancements in the future, safe harbor. Like I said, I'm not sure exactly the timing or the priorities for Salesforce, but I know what they're asking for. And right now in this version, it's just not available.
Great. And the other question I had was, Does this still offer the same ability to send test emails? I assume it does, but I don't think it's something we went over on the slides.
It does. And actually, like I said, with the timing on the presentation, there was a lot to cover. I covered the things that I thought, that were not obvious. A lot of the drag and drop. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I assumed that was the case, but I just want to make sure that we got that one addressed.
Yeah.
Awesome. So any other questions out there in chat that I'm kind of looking through this now? I'm trying to see if any new ones are coming in. If so, please let us know, and we'll get them answered for you. You can see one in here, Jen, asking, do you have to copy the email if you want to change the subject?
Oh, no. No, so you don't have to change. So if you want, obviously, once you hit copy, the email, basically you can resend it. It'll be an exact carbon copy unless you go back and make a change to it. So you have the options to go make that change to that subject. Or it's as simple as if you just hit send a second time, it will send a carbon copy of what you just had previously.
Perfect. And there's another question that just came in, says, can you use your own font for an email?
No, that was, we talked about the branding style there. You're not able to import custom fonts yet. I mean, I know it's on the list. I just don't know, when Salesforce will address that.
And there was another question asking if you have an article that details the prerequisites. You kind of talked about it in the first slide there, but I don't know if there's another blog post detailing that you can refer us to, or is that just commonly available through Trailhead community or Trailblazer community?
Yeah, the best resource is to go to this bit.ly email build. So at least it'll talk about here the prerequisites, and even within Salesforce, they'll provide some links. So if you still need to connect your campaigns, if you still need to turn on your HTML, you should be able to kind of follow a path of links from there.
Perfect. I don't see any new questions coming in. Are there any other final thoughts you want to hit, Jen, or are we going to call it a wrap?
I think we call it a wrap, but I appreciate the opportunity. And like I said, it was great. I love the ParDreamin, and I'm thankful to have the opportunity to present on a session, especially the part of the email builder where I have a lot of passion.
Well, awesome. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us today. This has been a great session. Jen, thank you for presenting. This was great information for me too. So I really appreciate the time today.
Yeah, thank you.